All right, this is the tutorial for homework number 2, problem 8a. If you look in your book on page 356, it gives you a template of another cash budget, which is what I used to help me fill in all of these sections. But we'll go through this. So basically we have this given information and we want to make a cash budget for January and February. So up at the top, our heading, we're going to select for the 2 months ending February 28th, 2017. Our beginning cash balances are listed here. So I'm just going to copy and paste them into the appropriate field. Oh, let's see. Okay, that's right. So we start with our January cash balance, but we don't know the February beginning cash balance yet. Then what we want to do is we want to go through and we want to add all of our cash receipts. So we want to add all of the things that are going to give us, the Flounder Corp, what is going to give us cash. So collections from customers. We can see here we have collections from customers for January. And we've also got some numbers for February. Then a notes receivable. So right here in other receipts, because it's a receipt, we've got January, the collections of this note receivable. So we'll add that in, but it doesn't mention notes receivable for February, so we'll put a 0 there. But February does have a sale of securities, so we'll want to add that into February, but we'll put a 0 for January. And then what you want to do is total up these 3 categories. So let me do that really quick. And you can just do it for each section. I think it's kind of easy to do it that way instead of one column at a time. Okay, and then our total available cash is going to be our total receipts plus the beginning cash balance. Now, we don't know the February beginning cash balance yet, so we won't be able to do that. But our January total available cash will be this. So now that we've gone through and totaled all of our receipts, we want to subtract out all of our cash disbursements. So things that are taking cash away from us. So we have things like salaries, selling expenses, etc. And again, I just looked in the book to help me figure out exactly what we're supposed to go under the cash disbursements. So if we go up here, we see we've got salaries for January and February that we can plug in. Oops, salaries. And selling expenses, which is here. Administrative expenses, so something that you want to be aware of is this little sentence right here. Says all other expenses are paid in the month incurred except for administrative expenses, which include $1,000 of depreciation per month. And depreciation is not part of the cash budget. So we take our administrative expenses and we want to make sure we subtract out $1,000. So this is $71,400. Now it will be $70,400. So just make sure you do that in your own problem. And then we've got purchases, which we've got payments for purchases right here in number 2. So we'll add those in. There's a lot of information in this problem. And then dividends, so we can see right here, number 4, February, they gave a cash dividend, but there was no dividend in January, so just put that 0 for that. Okay, then you're going to total up your disbursements for each column. Hopefully, I pre-calculated everything before I did this tutorial, so hopefully all of these numbers work out. Okay, and then we're going to figure out our excess or deficiency of available cash over disbursement. So you're going to take your total cash, subtract total disbursement, And for January, you will get this. And for February, we don't know quite yet. So we'll keep going down the January line. Now, this is not correct right here. This next section is the financing section. So basically, we know from the information that the company wants to maintain a minimum cash balance of about $52,000. Now, right here, our cash budget says we'll be at $104,000. So we don't need to finance anything because we have the minimum that we want. So we're not going to borrow anything. We don't have any repayments from the information given. So our ending cash balance will be $104,200. Now that we have this number, this becomes our beginning cash balance for February. Now that we have this, we can add beginning cash balance to our total receipts and get our total available cash. Then, now that we have our total available cash, we can subtract our total disbursements from that number and get our answer. All right, now again, we're still at 95,000, and we know that the company wanted a minimum of about 52, so we won't need to do any borrowing again. We'll go ahead and paste that down into our ending cash balance, and let's submit this and hope that it all worked out. Oh, I've got a lot of mistakes here. So a lot of our numbers were right, but some of them were wrong. So I'm going to go through and fix those really quick. Note that only the totals are not correct. So obviously there was a mistake in my calculations. So I'll go through and do that really quick here. Okay, so I went back through, and it was interesting because my mistake was just in this first calculation, the total receipts. I had actually added the cash receipts and the beginning cash balance, and I had that as my total receipts. And then I had added my beginning cash balance again to get the total available cash. And I actually was wondering why my cash balance was so high at the end. So I went through and subtracted out everything and got an ending cash balance of $55,500, which then became the beginning cash balance for February. I adjusted these totals, and you can see here that if this is correct, we end with $46,600, and the company does want about $52,000. So if you subtract their desired amount of the minimum cash balance, which will be the ending cash balance, you'll do 52,470 minus 46,600, and you get 5,870, which means that the company will need to borrow money in order to have an ending cash balance that they desire. So now let's go ahead and do this again. Hopefully our totals will be correct. And that is that. So as you go through, just make sure that you don't do what I did and add your beginning cash balance twice, because that will mess all of your totals up. I hope that was helpful. Again, I just looked at page 356 as a template for all of these categories. Good luck.